Okay, after we were out on the motorcycles yesterday afternoon, and last night I uploaded that video, that on Easy Rider one, and I thought it was kind of funny. That I got a message from my sister. She said, here she thought they were just zooming along. She thought they were really, really riding, and she was a little disappointed when she saw the video. She said, "Oh my God, here we look like a couple of old ladies poking around." And I thought that was funny, but there's a kind of a point in this. They did amazingly well uh, for really never having ridden before. I know my sister said she hadn't even ridden a bicycle in like 2 years. But we went on a lot of back roads that were that could be very challenging, very difficult. Where you like sometimes you're dealing with two ruts like that deep. Well, this can be a minefield for a motorcycle, especially when it's not designed for that kind of riding. We went on some roads that were loose gravel, which again can be treacherous, or uh, there was one stretch of road that was this fine loose sand that could be hard to even walk in. And though I have ridden for many years, I have a little patch of loose sand here in the driveway, and I can come in with that bike and I can get into a bind. I've never dumped it, but I've come real close in that little loose sand. It isn't bad if it's wet, but when it's dry, it's just treacherous. And they did some fancy driving getting through there. I was looking at the tracks where my sister went. It was like a snake went through there, but that stuff is hard. But the thing is, in all that riding, nobody ever got into a jam. Nobody ever tipped over. It's very easy to do. I wasn't worried about this, tragic crashing accident, but I was pretty sure somebody was going to tip over. It's very easy to do if you're not used to riding. So to get through the day with nobody tipping over, I was impressed. Actually, I was impressed with the whole thing because it's one of them things that people can sometimes get into with a very false sense of self-confidence. They'll think, I can do this, and they'll plow on and get themselves into a jam. Kids are really bad about that. They think they're much more capable because they have seen somebody do something, go fast or like pop a wheelie, this kind of thing, and they want to do that right away. You've got a lot to learn, before you. So you kind of ease into them kind of situations, and that's what I was trying to do with them. Get them comfortable. If you push somebody too far, they're going to crash, and it's going to scare them. Just even tipping over, is going to scare them. But if you ease them into it, and this is true of anything, driving a car, shooting a gun, anything, you ease into these things. You don't just, and that's where the problem comes up a lot of times with people who, video games are really bad for this. People like even driving a car in a video game with these little controllers, and then they think, boy, they can drive. And they can't. I know people who like they go into the military after playing these video games and think they're really, and then they get in a situation, they realize it ain't nothing like what they expected it was going to be. and they get all upset because reality has nothing to do with these things that you learn in these games, which goes to the whole where they want to do schooling online now. There's that isn't really going to work. They aren't going to learn that way. Kids don't learn that way. But I see it even on YouTube all the time. Somebody will watch a video, show them how to do something, and then they think, by God, I got her nailed. I watched this and now I can do it. And it isn't that way. These things have got to be learned over a period of time. You don't learn it really quick. Like now these two, I could take them out on a motorcycle. Like say, if you went once a day for an hour or two, in a week, they would be, let's say, competent, really competent drivers. They could actually like pass the driving test for a motorcycle in a week. But it takes a lifetime to really feel that you really know what you're doing, to really feel comfortable on something like that. You got to put in the time on that sort of thing. I mean, you can, and really, most of the time, all you need to do is to be competent at it. But to go into something, want to be the best at something right away, it doesn't work that way. Like I said, I was impressed with how they did. Actually, a little surprised. But, like I say, the false self-confidence, that gets to be a problem. It gets people in a jam all the time. You have to be realistic about these things. And kind of know your limitations, at least your skill level, Because I know, though I have ridden a motorcycle for many years, if I was to go out on a track with professional riders, I would make an absolute fool of myself. I know there's a limitation in there. Now, yes, I could become competent at that if that was my goal to do that. I'll play around on a track, but I would never want to put in the time to be really good at that. That's not a great interest of mine. In fact, I know there are people who race cars for a living, like the Formula One drivers, who are really good and really confident on the track, but will not drive a car on the street. Because on the track, things are relatively controllable. You're running with a bunch of people that all have the same skill level. Things are predictable. But out on the street, that's just random madness. You're all kinds of various levels of skill, some totally unskilled, all mixed together, going at far greater speeds than they should. It scares the hell out of a professional driver. Because they know what can happen, when you're dealing with a mix like that. So, I'll work with these, get them out a few times, but on a thing like that, when you're, and not just motorcycles, I mean on anything. When you think you're really good, is a time to kind of stand back and kind of reevaluate something, because it's important to know how much you don't know. Like even, I was doing a thing the other day, was shooting a different powder that I don't normally use and stuff. What I like to do is, people could get a pet load and they think this is the best load. This is what I use. Nothing else is as good as this. Everybody else is wrong, I'm right. When you get to that point, the thing to do is to start over. try a whole different approach to it and see how it works for you. You know, but don't ever think that you have got it down. It's just important to know, to realize how much you don't know. Because a lot of times people will all of a sudden they reevaluate something and they'll think, my God, how arrogant was I at one time to think that I had this down. And then you see people coming up behind you that are doing the same thing and you think, well, they'll learn, but they'll learn the hard way. People tend to want to learn the hard way. But like I say, people, they watch videos and a lot of times you watch them and you know, they think, now I got it down. This person knows what they're talking about. Now I know what I'm talking about. And they'll go and make a video. And because I see this all the time where I watch somebody make a video on how to do something, and it doesn't take me very long, and I realize, okay, these people haven't really done this before. These people are doing what somebody else did, but they don't really understand the basics of the thing. You got to get the basics down and build on that. And like I say, reevaluate once in a while. I know it was funny, even, this is true of so many things, but things all kind of link together. But when I was making the sauerkraut, I thought, well, I'll watch a couple of videos, see what's out there. You know, I've done this before, but I want to see what people have online. I do this often. If I'm doing a video on something, if I'm going to put it up, I'll first look to see what is out there, to see if it's worth my time, or if somebody has actually covered a particular topic very well, then there's really no point of me doing it, because sometimes some people are really good at this, but God, there's a lot of stuff out there that's really just amateur kind of stuff, that people are doing something, they have no idea what they're doing really. And like I say, a lot of times it's obvious to somebody who's familiar with this that they have never done it before, and then they're trying to teach you how to do it. You have to avoid that sort of thing. Don't try to instruct something to somebody that, if you don't really have a really good practical grasp of the thing yourself. But like I say, I thought I'd look at some videos if this is worth me bothering to make a video on making sauerkraut. And I watched a few of them, or two or three of them, and like the top ones that were listed up there, the most views, and I realized right away the proportions of like the salt they were using and stuff, this was all wrong. This wasn't going to work. But yet they go ahead and do this and show you, you know, because people always want, you know, they can't use their instinct. They want a recipe on this stuff. And the recipes, the proportions that they're using were all wrong. Well, now I could go on and make a video and say, these guys were all wrong. I'm right. But I just didn't see any point in it. I think you have to, you know, you can watch that kind of stuff, get an idea, but then you have to plow ahead and learn these things on your own, you know, refine it, because, like I say, some of that stuff is real kind of iffy. But you see that on all kinds of stuff. The world is just that way. But people will go at it with this false sense of self-confidence. But then when, you know, it chips around, it doesn't pan out. That's funny. But anyway, you know, I thought it was funny when she, you know, she was surprised, like how slow they were just putting along. God, learn to putt along first. you don't just jump on something like that and go, you know. You putt around, or you learn the hard way. You tip over and you realize, you know, what your limitations are. But you got to build on something like that. on anything. You got to be willing to put the time in, and if you want to be really good at something, you got to devote a hell of a lot of time to it. But with a certain amount of time, you can become competent at it. And that's good enough for most people. You just have to be competent at things. And that's my theory. I like to be competent at a lot of stuff. I don't strive to be, like you see people who will devote their life to skateboarding. They get really good at skateboarding. But that's a kind of a narrow little niche that you're working in there. If you want to spend all of your time, all of your effort to learn this one skill, it's kind of a shallow life. But you follow what dream you want to follow. But to me, that doesn't appeal. I really have no desire to learn to skateboard. I imagine I could learn, but I fear for my elbows. But you see people doing crap on them that it's amazing that people are busted up. People will like even on motorcycles, and this is particularly true if you get somebody like say if somebody is just putting around on a motorcycle, a helmet really is of little use. They're just going to put around, and the chances of them banging their head on anything are pretty slim. But a lot of times you go and you put a helmet on somebody and they think, my God, I am indestructible. And kids do this constantly. And they will try to take some jump that's impossible, particularly at the level of skill that they have, which is almost nothing. But they figure they're indestructible, so they'll try this and get all busted up. You gotta learn. Learn to recognize what you don't know and know your limitations. But I was very pleased, like I say, with what they did. But I felt bad after she said, "Oh my God, we look like two ladies putting around." I guess that's what they were, kind of. But they had a good time, and they did very well. And that's what matters. And like I say, I could bet if you took them out once a day, within a week they could easily get their license. But it was fun. And that was really the point of it.